I hope you were watching Westbrook last night. I know that might have been difficult for some of you. It was a late game. It was a hardwood classic though if you missed it, Thunder and Spurs. But specifically about Westbrook, I think it was about as close to the perfect Westbrook game as you'll realistically get. When you think about all the bad that comes with him, the man really did his thing last night. He had 24 points, 13 rebounds, 24 assists, so he was hunting around Scott Skiles' range for that record of 30. He had 2 steals, shot 50% from the field, 3 turnovers. I mean, statistically that's a beautiful game, but if you watched it as well, it wasn't Westbrook that people always say, oh, he's just hunting assists or he's hunting stats. If you look at his passes, not only were they great decisions, but they played a huge part in the game even being close because they had to make a comeback. He had one specific pass where they were down by 3 points, the quarter was ending, and he had a wide open 3 that 9 times out of 10 he's gonna take, even if he's not gonna make it, but like 2 times out of 10. But instead, he whips a very nice cross-court pass to Terrence Ferguson, who was actually hot. Ferguson drains it and they're tied. So it's things like that that make me say this was the Westbrook that you actually want. And it was the version of Westbrook that makes Westbrook really confusing. He's one of the players that I've been following closely for years, and I feel like I've just seen it all from him on both sides of the spectrum. From crazy amazing games to terrible crunch time decisions, to his 2017 MVP when he really didn't have anything but a defensive team around him, to 2016 when they probably should have been in the finals, and I think 2016 was actually one of the better years of his career. And then to how he's almost single-handedly reshaped the narrative around the triple-double. But what I'm the most interested in when I watch Westbrook is what I hope will eventually be his evolution into a championship point guard. And it's frustrating because he's like knocking on that door, right? Like he's like right there. But there's some very specific tweaks that he needs to make before I think he's actually at that level. Because his biggest issue right now, and what makes him so confusing, especially because there's so many people who only watch highlights and then the narratives get out there that aren't, they're not 100% true. The problem is that he can be so simultaneously good and bad. So you'll be watching a game where it's tight in the 4th quarter or they're down by a couple of points, and he'll do everything necessary to bring them back or to keep them in the game. He'll make all the crucial plays. And then this scenario I feel like I've been watching since the KD days. And it's that scenario where the Thunder have the ball, they're down by 1 or 2 points, and you just know that Westbrook is going for 3. He is going for that 3 contested or uncontested. That's what frustrates me the most about him. And the thing is, I'll tweet about it every time he does it. And then you have his fan base come get on me and point out everything else he did. But my point is not what he did for the whole game, because he did a lot of things that made the Thunder successful, but it's the fact that that's a trend with him. Bad shots at the end of games, unnecessary shots, that's a trend. I can recall back as far as 2014, a game against the Clippers where he chucked a 3 that they didn't need. Or maybe it was too early. But it's just the fact of how common that is right there. And I think that speaks to a bigger issue of Russ trying too hard to fit into the combo guard area that Steph Curry has really made successful. Because what does a combo guard do, or a successful combo guard? They give you the best qualities of a point guard and the best qualities of a shooting guard. And I think the worst thing about his game is that he is a point guard constantly trying a little bit too hard to give you those shooting guard qualities. For instance, let's talk about his 3-pointers, and not just at the end of the game, but how he's shooting them. He currently takes around 5 threes a game, and part of the reason he's only shooting them at 22% this year is because so many of those 5 throughout a game, they're just flat out bad attempts. He might pull one up early in the shot clock, he just jacks them up real fast, one might be contested, and he's just not that type of shooter. He's never been that type of shooter. His career average is 30%. And so in a way, he's kind of falling into the trap of this era. This is the shooting era. This is where everybody loves to be able to make threes. It spreads the floor. But that's one of the biggest areas hurting his game. Because that bad shot selection from 3, that often translates into his mid-range game when he just pulls up sometimes and you see it like barely hit the rim after it hits the backboard. He just has so many of these very quick jack 'em up shots that he likes to take. And see, the difference, the obvious difference between him and a Curry is that for Curry, those are not bad shots. Very quick turnaround, lightly contested, maybe a little bit more contested 3-pointers, quick mid-range shots. Curry's proven that he can do those things. He's proven to be a perfect combo guard. So what I would like to see Russ do to really evolve into a non-questionable championship point guard is just stick to what he's really good at. He is a very good and very capable passer. On a night like last night where you just saw all the passes he was making, all of his assists, they were just such good decisions. That's a good part. His rebounds is something that people generally get on him for that I don't. Especially for people who don't watch Westbrook, they might just say, oh, well, he just gets a lot of rebounds because they let him or because he steals rebounds. Not gonna lie, I've seen a picture of him stealing a rebound before. It wasn't questionable. But personally, I don't mind my super fast, super athletic point guard starting the break. I don't mind him getting the ball and having the center out in front of him, especially not if he's making the right decision with the ball. If him taking the ball up really fast is going to result in him making a good decision and getting an assist, I don't mind that. And I think that's also what confuses people, is because they might just look at it and say, oh, he's a stat sheet stuffer because those rebounds are uncontested. Again, if they're leading to the right thing, I don't really care how impressive the rebounds are or are not. And here's another confusing thing. People are saying that Russ is playing so terrible this year, but in my opinion, he's actually putting himself closer to where he needs to be for the team to be successful. Because people automatically look at his field goal percentage and it's not that good, and then they say he's only averaging 21 points a game, which is down 4 points from last year. So especially if you don't watch Russ, the narrative could be that he's just having a down year. You know, definitely, like I said earlier in the video, the 3-point shots, I'm going to get to that again, but he's taking way too many. However, I think the best year of his career was arguably 2016 when they almost made the finals. Back then, he was only taking 18 shots a game, and that was actually, it's funny to say, that's the highest efficiency he's ever had at 45%. This year, he's pretty close to where he was that year in shot attempts. He's taking 19 a game, and as funny as it sounds, his 42% field goal percentage, that's not extremely far off from where Russ has been for most of his career. Career average is 43%, and you look at 2017, he was averaging 42% back then. In the year 2015, it was 42%, 2013, 43%. What I'm saying is, I think the whole Russ is having just a horrible year. I think that's being blown a little bit out of proportion because of the amount of three-pointers he's taking. I think that's hurting him more than anything. His turnovers are almost exactly the same as what they've been for the last 4 years. And he's actually having a career year with steals at 2.5. So really sit down and watch Westbrook and see what I mean. I really think the tweaks that he needs to make is just not as exaggerated as everyone says. I think they're very minor. I think if he were to just sit down and tune his shot selection, it would do so much for him. So he could say, okay, instead of trying to fit into this era where it seems like everyone has to be able to shoot, just lower those 3-point attempts, especially at the end of the game when you don't need them. I would love to see him turn a lot of those 3-point attempts at the end into drives. Like, you're a superstar point guard, you're dynamite, you're super athletic, you're Russell Westbrook. If you're down by 1 or 2, find an angle to the rim. Especially if the team is giving it to you. I thought against the Wolves the other night, he really could have taken advantage of where Cat was. But he's good at getting to the rim. Like, that's what you're good at. Get there and maybe draw a foul. So if he would do that, take his 3-point shots from where they are right now with 5 to, maybe about 3 a game. How about that? I think that would be beautiful. This Thunder team does not need him to be averaging like 25 points a game. George has really found his groove this year, and Russ has really found a groove facilitating. So in a lot of places that people are not paying attention to, and because especially if you're not watching that stats will confuse this whole thing, he's trending in a good direction, I would say. If you just look at everything together, he's trending in a good direction. But I think the Russ that we frequently see, the one that would have taken that 3-point shot when he clearly wasn't on last night instead of passing to Terrence Ferguson, I think that's the one that will never be a championship point guard. At this point, to me, it's really just decision making and him trying to fit into a role that he does not have to fit into for the team to be successful. And that's all for today. If you somehow followed this channel and didn't know that I had an even bigger one, make sure to go sub to Dom2K where I do more long form NBA videos. The link is in both the comment section and in the description. Hit the like button, comment, and sub if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications on future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.